Just this past week, the New York Times came under fire after hiring a new tech editor, Sarah Jeong, when it was discovered that she has thousands of anti-white racist tweets spanning several years. The New York Times defended her, saying that she was just imitating the rhetoric of her harassers, that she was counter-trolling. A lot of people don't accept that because many of her tweets were just blanket statements. She was just tweeting out things like that white people were groveling goblins. Now, the controversy continues because just the other day on Fox News, a black comedian said that she was crazy knees and called her Ling Ling and made reference to her eating fortune cookies. A lot of people are now insinuating that Fox News is hosting racist guests or that this comedian is himself racist. But the trouble here is the comedian was black. And according to many people on the left, racism is prejudice plus power. Sarah Jeong wasn't being racist towards white people because she's an oppressed minority and she's, criticizing white people. So wouldn't it make sense then that this black comedian isn't being racist because Asians have more institutional power? It would seem that there's a bit of a hypocrisy going on with this situation. So what exactly did this comedian say? Is it racist? And just how is the left responding to this seemingly hypocritical situation? But before we get started, look just below the video and you will see a little join button. This is what I do for a living, so if you like these videos, you want to see more like it, and you want to see more on-the-ground reporting, click that button, and just for a few dollars per month, you can help support my work by becoming a channel member. Yesterday, we saw this tweet from journalist Yashir Ali. He said, Jesse Watters, who had to apologize 2 years ago for a segment on the O'Reilly factor that many deemed to be racist, had a guest on tonight who called Sarah Jeong crazy knees and then said something is wrong with the fortune cookies Ling Ling is eating.
This lady is Chinese, Japanese, or crazy knees. Something is wrong with this woman. And I can't believe they would hire her. They're a bunch of hypocrites.
Well, they defended the hiring, and they basically said this. She was being harassed, they claimed, by racist people on Twitter. And she responded to that harassment by imitating the rhetoric of their harassers. So they're saying, oh yeah, some people said some racist stuff to her, so then she said racist stuff back to imitate them. Does that even make any sense?
Oh my, that don't make no sense. I don't know, no. There's something wrong with them fortune cookies that Ling Ling is eating. She's eating. There's something wrong with her.
Terrence, I think you now got yourself in trouble.
No.
I gotta run.
No. Now,
we'll be right back.
Let's see.
I gotta go to break.
Several people have said that that was Jesse Watters cutting off the guest after he made racist statements. Now, I don't know if he shut down the segment specifically because of the statements made by this comedian, but that's at least what some people are saying. But what makes this interesting is that many people who are moderate or right-wing view racism as prejudice, discrimination, or antagonism, targeting someone based on their race, typically when someone views their race as being inferior or their personal race as being superior. And this leads us to a conundrum. The left defines racism as prejudice plus power, meaning that an Asian woman like Sarah Jeong constantly attacking white people over several years is not racist, because it's about institutional power. National Review highlights several tweets. In one, David S. Joaquim says, "Dear white people, racism is about the powerful keeping down the powerless. We generally are the powerful. White people isn't a slur. F and N words are slurs because they subordinate. Your moral equivalence is nonsense. Reverse racism isn't a thing." In response to the tweet, Stephen Miller said, "Yep, it's horrible, but see, that guest is black. And according to Jeong and the New York Times' own rules, now this isn't actually racism because he comes from a marginalized race himself. Aren't these fun new rules the New York Times created great for everyone?" And this is where it gets very interesting. Someone responded, "No, completely idiotic. He's making racist attacks against her specifically while she was attacking power structures. If a company makes a mistake, I attack, vilify the company as a whole, as an entity. I don't disparage Shelley, who works in accounting." In countering Stephen Miller's statement, who was pointing out the own definition of racism from the left, they said that he was targeting her specifically. But let's go back in time. The New York Times said that Sarah Jeong was counter-trolling. She was imitating the rhetoric of her harassers. If somebody was being racist towards Sarah Jeong and she responded by being racist in turn, the New York Times says that's what she was doing and she won't do it again. In this instance, if Sarah Jeong is being racist and in response to that, a black man then says racist things about her, wouldn't that not be him using similar rhetoric of someone who is harassing others? It seems like the arguments don't necessarily make sense there, and if you were to ask me, this has always been about tribalism. I really don't believe people here are focused on principles so much. Terrence K. Williams responded, I called a racist Asian Ling Ling, but I wasn't being racist and hateful like her. She wished death on white people. That's racist, and told black people to shoot cops so they can get killed. That's racist. I'm a comedian. I love Asians, and as I think about it, dated a few. I think this is a really great example of just how hypocritical everyone is being. This guy's a comedian. He made offensive jokes. James Gunn made offensive jokes, and many people defended him. Many people said that we should defend people regardless of these offensive statements, yet when it targets them, they flip out and say, no, we shouldn't. But it isn't just this one comedian. The controversy actually goes even further. In response to the racist tweets from Sarah Jeong, Candace Owens, who is a black conservative, took the tweets and changed the word white to Jewish. She was then suspended from Twitter. A Twitter user tweeted, "Real Candace O was banned for 12 hours after replacing the word white with Jewish in one of Sarah Jeong's racist tweets. Sarah Jeong's account remains unbanned." And they took a screenshot of a tweet where Candace Owens replaced the word white with Jewish. She said, "The above statements are from the New York Times editor Sarah Jeong. I simply swapped out the word white for Jewish." To which Charlie Kirk said, "Unreal. Real Candace O has been banned for tweeting for 12 hours because she allegedly violated Twitter terms and service. She tweeted nothing wrong, and interestingly, Sarah Jeong hasn't been banned or suspended. Why was Candace banned? Because she is conservative." This all gets really strange and confusing when you try to figure out what the actual rules are, because in reality, if you were to ask me, there aren't any. There are people who claim there are rules, and there are people who are seeking consistency and trying to figure out what the rules are so we know what we should or shouldn't do, but it seems like in so many of these instances, it's just tribal. If you agree with the left, they'll agree with you and they'll defend you, even if what you're doing is racist. Sarah Jeong said things that were racist, and that's not necessarily my opinion. That was from many mainstream news sources. If you're going to call white people groveling goblins, I have to assume you view them as inferior, in which case you are antagonizing an entire race of people that you view as inferior, and that is racism. But to go back to even Candace Owens' point, where she replaces the word white with Jewish, she was suspended, presumably because of these tweets. However, in the past, Sarah Jeong has made the argument that Jewish people are white. She tweeted once, "We even got into a discussion of whether it was okay for me to call someone who is Jewish white." So my question is then, do Jewish people have more institutional power than black people? Do white people have more institutional power than black people? Because if that is your opinion, what Candace Owens said should not violate Twitter's terms of service, but for whatever reason, they did, and she was suspended. I have to wonder why it was that Sarah Jeong was never suspended or penalized for making these statements about white people, but Candace Owens is, when Candace Owens, by the left definition, has less institutional power. I'd have to say when you look at all of this stuff, it's fair that it's not really about institutional power. It's about protecting your tribe. The left is going to claim it's about institutional power when it can benefit them. When Sarah Jeong makes thousands of racist tweets, they'll say, well, she's punching up, so it's okay. But when a black woman like Candace Owens criticizes white people, a Jewish person, or even an Asian person, she gets suspended. So the only thing I can say is that we're going to have to go by the actual dictionary definition. If you antagonize, discriminate, or hold prejudicial views against someone based on their race, if you view their race as inferior, you are racist. In which case, the jokes made by this comedian, it is racist. The statements made by Sarah Jeong, it is racist. That's it. Whether or not these people should be deplatformed is not my argument or my opinion. That's just the way it is. You can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't pretend like Sarah Jeong is not racist simply because white people presumably have more institutional power, but then get mad at a black comedian saying he is being racist because you're not abiding by your own rules. And if that's the case, how is anyone supposed to take you seriously? In searching for the Ling Ling controversy with Terrence Williams, I came across this segment from Drawn Together. This is a show from Comedy Central in 2005. In it, a racist character who is a princess has a hat on her head that squints her eyes and makes her view the world as an Asian person. In it, they show cards, and when she sees the card, she refers to it as beef broccoli. She sees two Chinese people and says they look totally different. They show her a math equation, she solves it instantly. And then they show her a road, and it looks like scary cars flying at her face. The segment is a joke about all of these racial stereotypes, that Asians can't drive, that they're really good at math, that they look the same, and that they eat cats. This is still hosted on Comedy Central. And I know it's a really old segment, and I know it's supposed to be a joke. But what's interesting here is that this is an actress who is a white person, and she is mocking Asian people by every stereotype in the book. This content is still live on Comedy Central. If they're going to criticize a black comedian for calling an Asian woman Ling Ling and talking about her eating fortune cookies, yet at the same time, you have a white actress portrayed in a cartoon that still is live on Comedy Central, talking about a character named Ling Ling. Yes, there's a character in the show, she's referring to Ling Ling, putting on a Chinese hat, having her eyes squinted, and then making several offensive, stereotypical statements about Asian people. I have to wonder where the rules actually are. Why is it not okay for this black comedian to make these jokes, but it's okay for Comedy Central to host this show, and presumably for the actors involved and for the company to continue making royalties and ad revenue off of extremely racist content? I have no problem with these jokes. Look, I am Korean. I watched this, I actually laughed. I think it's funny. I understand the jokes that they're making when they mock Asian people. I understand the joke that Terrence was making when he made fun of Asian people. I thought it was extremely offensive, but you know what? He's a comedian, and I understand he's trying to be provocative, and he's trying to make a point about what Sarah Jeong was doing. If it were up to me, I'd say let people be offensive, don't ban Sarah Jeong, and don't ban other people. But there's got to be a standard. We have to know what the rules are. And right now, if we go by what the standard is from the New York Times, we're going to allow some people to be racist and others not to be, and it makes absolutely no sense. So let me know what you think in the comments below. We'll keep the conversation going. Do you think they're being hypocritical? Because I certainly think they're being hypocritical. I think if this black man is going to make a racist joke, by their standard, he's not being racist. However, by my standard, they're both being racist. I think I understand it's comedy. I don't agree with what Sarah Jeong did. I think it's racist and deplorable. And I also find what this black comedian said to be racist as well. But it's comedy. I don't know about Sarah Jeong, but the whole thing is damn confusing. Comment below and let me know what you think, and we'll keep the conversation going. Stay tuned. New videos every day at 4 p.m. Thank you all so much for hanging out, and I'll see you all tomorrow.